This is Mr. MegaManFan, and welcome back to Genesis Does What Nintendon't. Or perhaps in this case, Analogue does what nobody else can do. I was so excited for this video that I honestly had a hard time sitting still just unboxing this package. It arrived via FedEx today, and I had been keeping my eye out like a hawk. I practically ran out the door when I saw the FedEx truck pull up. Thankfully, it was not too hot. It had only been on the truck since, 8 a.m. this morning. So I was very happy to see this arrive. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Analogue Mega SG. I'm going to unbox it, show you the contents, and test it out on today's episode of Genesis Does. I should add, this was not a product sent to me by Analogue. There is no endorsement. I paid for this one myself, so all thoughts are going to be my own. As you can see, it is nicely shrink wrapped with a label showing all of the features, including FPGA unparalleled compatibility. For those who don't know what that means or why that's important, it's a field programmable gate array, which means essentially it's a chip that reproduces the actual working environment of a Sega Genesis. It can duplicate all of the chips in an original Genesis and function the same way that they did. This is the same feature that made their backward compatibility on the Analogue NT and the Analogue Mini so good for NES and Super Nintendo. It's why FPGA is the de facto standard if you want to do a custom HDMI output modern console recreating an old console. You can do it with software emulation and get pretty good compatibility and pretty good output, but if you do it with FPGA, you get 99.99999% compatibility, and it just looks and sounds beautiful when it's output to your TV. It's truly not comparable to anything else. So you may pay a little more for it, but you're getting what you pay for. And honestly, for $189.99 plus shipping, I really don't think that's unreasonable. I can't imagine that a Sega Genesis, when they first launched, didn't cost $200, probably more. With inflation, that'd be like $600 or $700 today. So consider that you're getting an HDMI Sega Genesis with extra features for less than what you would have paid for a Genesis back in the day. Again, these are my thoughts alone though, and in no way an endorsement of Analogue or their products. I'm just really happy to have my first FPGA system. That's an included divider to surface the Sega CD if you want to mount it on your Genesis, but it could also double as a mousepad, quite frankly. They also included a Sega Master System cartridge adapter and an instruction manual for your Analogue. What else do we have inside this box? We have the power cable, nicely bundled. We have the power brick, which is good because some retro systems that are minis don't even come with a power brick these days. And they nicely included a HDMI cable as well. So let me get this divider back in the box, and the top tray that the Analogue was sitting in back into this box as well. Put the lid back on it, because now I've got all the parts out I need to set it up, test it, run it, etc. And I forgot to mention that the Analogue Mega SG also comes with an unreleased Sega Genesis game that was found, licensed, and renamed specifically for this console. It's called Ultra Core, and I'll be showing you a little bit of that gameplay as well once I get out all the parts that I need to run the Analogue, starting with the power brick. Again, a very nice inclusion considering that the PlayStation Mini did not even come with a power brick. You had to supply your own. That's just cheap. But then again, that system was cheap. I only paid $30 for it, so I guess that goes back to what I said earlier in the video, that you get what you pay for. So got the power brick out now, got my accessories, got the manual handy. Let's take a look at this. See what it says we need to do. And Analogue, celebrate and explore the history. Welcome to Analogue. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Very nice of you to say. What do we got here? Command, any controller. It's showing you how to access the menu. But of course, I have the 2.4 gigahertz Analogue recommended Genesis controller that will take you back to the menu with the press of a button. Let's move to the back of the rec room with this stack. Here we have my HD TV with the Analogue Mini set up, and it's powering on. And here's that beautiful startup logo and sound. I'm gushing, I know, but I had seen this product before I even bought it for myself, and I'm extremely happy to have my own. We're going to start this test by playing the built-in game, which is Ultra Core. As you can see here, it's a basic menu. We'll go right into the game by pressing start. And this is a run and gun game that reminds me of a Metroid meets Gunstar Heroes type approach, where everything moves fast, but you're also constantly shooting at all the things coming at you, which look like they come from a cyberpunk future where robots have taken over the land and are trying to make life hell for the human beings, or humanoids, whatever we are. I don't know if we're human. My protagonist does seem to be wearing a biosuit of some kind, so maybe we're part man, part machine. I don't really know the backstory here. It's not like it came in a case with an instruction manual, although I know there was recently a cartridge release of Ultra Core, but since I was already getting an Analogue Mega SG, why would I get that? Why would I pay for a separate cartridge when this game comes preloaded with the Mega SG? So that was never an option as far as I was concerned. But if you have a Genesis and you didn't have an Analogue, I could see why you would want to get a cartridge reproduction of Ultra Core. But so far, it's pretty standard run and gun, robots, enemy turrets, little walkers, all sorts of things trying to take chunks out of your health. It's nice that you have a health bar with multiple hits you can take, as opposed to like a Contra hardcore style, and I do mean the Japanese version when I say this, 3 hits and you're out. Or if you're playing the American version, which I don't recommend, it's 1 hit and you're out. So I think this is a good place to pause and go to the menu and show you a few of the Analogue's options. We do have different video settings. You can make it 1:1 pixels, or you can go for the square pixels, or you can go 16:9, or you can go 16:10. I prefer 16:9 myself. I think it looks really nice at that setting. You can scale it if you want to. You can add or remove scan lines at your preference to create a more authentic cathode ray tube feel. Personally, I prefer to have it not have scan lines because I'm paying for HDMI output for a Genesis console, so if I'm going to have a clean picture over an HDMI signal, that's exactly what I want. I don't need the authenticity here. Although, I will note that in a later episode of Genesis Does, a little too authentic of an experience can also be a detriment if your memory of something is different from the way you're playing it today. And we also have system options, including stuff you can set like playing USA or Japan, so you're not limited to North American games. You can play games from any region on your Analogue, which is really helpful considering I own a copy of Wily Wars. I no longer need to use my cartridge adapter for that. And as you can see, the LED light on my Analogue is changing colors because you can change that option as well. I like the rainbow LED, so I'm going to leave it on that. You can save these settings, and then I'm going to show you how this works with an actual cartridge loaded, which I have already put in before I finished playing Ultra Core. I chose Mutant League Football as a classic Sega Genesis game. This really could have been an episode of Genesis Does just by itself about Mutant League Football, but I thought it would be an appropriate game to test this with because it's a lot of fun. It's very silly. The names of the characters are over the top absurd, like No Hope and Spew and Upchuck. They're just, they're not even pretending that you should take this seriously. It's robots playing other robots in a game of very deadly football with a football that's basically a stone jutted with spikes on it. So the football alone, if you were human, would probably rip a hole through your chest when it was thrown at you. But just to make it even more ridiculous, you can do things like bomb your other players. You can intentionally commit harikari suicide with one of your players. You can put landmines on the field. I mean, I'm going by memory here because I haven't played this in like 15 or 20 years, but there's just all sorts of things you can do in Mutant League football that are well outside the established norms for good old-fashioned American collegiate or NFL football. This is football taken to an absurd level. It's graphically violent, but since it's all robots, you're not supposed to feel bad about it. You're not like hurting real people. These robots can be destroyed, rebuilt, and come back and play for another day. They're just mechanical beings serving our need for combative sports entertainment. Now, if we were to extrapolate that these robots were self-aware, artificially intelligent, and had real feelings and emotions, then this would no longer be ethical, asking them to go out there and commit acts of violence against each other and suicide. But I think they are just automated robots with no feelings of their own. I was never given the impression that the emotions were anything other than that of the remote controlled players controlling them or the coach who's yelling at us. Either way, they're not genuinely emotive. They're just controlled to be emotive. As you can see, I didn't pick up a first down, had to punt away here, and fortunately, Yanker, like I said, don't take these names seriously, got very little gain. And now the coach is screaming at me, defense, 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 none shall pass. Well, actually, he's not saying the words. He's just going, because there was not enough memory in a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive cartridge to actually include full voicing for the coach. But that's how Mutant League football works. A brief demo of a cartridge running on the Analogue SG. And as always, thank you for watching Genesis Does. I've been your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and you can look forward to future episodes of Genesis Does with beautiful HDMI output thanks to this brand new analog console. Seems to work flawlessly. I chose an EA game on purpose because of the odd shape and size of those cartridges. It had no problem with it. Didn't even have to clean it first. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.